Kate here, and I'm going to show you in this video how to patch a hole in your drywall. The tools that you'll need in order to complete this project include drywall, a utility knife, a drill bits. You'll also need some scrap pieces of wood to drill the drywall into, and that's if you don't have studs on either side of your hole. You'll also need drywall compound, drywall tape, a taping knife, or some would call it a putty knife, but it's actually a lot thinner than a putty knife. And then you'll also need some fine sandpaper and, of course, the wall color of your choice. Let's get started. I'm about to cut the drywall piece to the right size. I need 4 by 21. So what I'm going to do is score the back a couple times, and then you kind of pop it and you'll get a straight cut. So I'll show you how to do that right now. Again, I'm using a metal ruler just to make sure that my line is straight. And I'm going to score it. It'll take me a couple times to score. So I've scored this enough. Now all you got to do is lift the drywall slightly and then pop it. Okay, so you're going to get a clean line. Now I'm going to flip it over. And just cut along the front of the drywall. And there you go. It's really important when you're patching drywall to have support all around the hole. So on this side we have studs, on this side we don't, so we know we have to add some pieces of wood on the inside here to support the new drywall pieces. So I've added some at the top already. This just involves putting the piece of wood behind the old drywall, maybe a few inches up, and drilling a few screws into the drywall so that it secures the wood to the back of the drywall. And then the new drywall piece is going to sit flush with the rest of the drywall, the old drywall. This is a 1-inch thick piece. I find it easier to work with, but if you have 2x4s and have the space, then it's no problem. You can use those too. Really high up here. You can see I've added the support on the inside, at the bottom, and then I don't need them on this side because of the studs. The next step for me is to put a couple screws in above so that this thing doesn't fall down and I can finish securing it to the wall. So you simply measure it out. I do a rough estimate because you're going to plaster over it anyways. So I overlap it a little bit. So I need 2 pieces like that. And then lengthwise, so you cut your tape. There's going to be a sticky side. It's not really sticky, but it's sticky enough. So you line it up. And then just press it down, making sure you don't have any bubbles or anything. Do the same at the top. And the same on the other side. And then of course along the bottom. Here's my first application. So when I'm putting it on the tape, it's important not to pull the tape off the wall. So I'm kind of doing it in a side motion, and I kind of like icing a cake, if you've ever iced a cake. You want it to be smooth. Once you get past the starting point of the tape, you can kind of play around with it a little bit because you know it's not going anywhere. But ultimately, you're using the wall, the main wall, as your reference point. So you're gonna keep the putty knife here flush with the wall as you bring it down. This is what your drywall compound is going to look like the next day. It's all going to be white, so it's going to go from kind of a gray to a white. Pay close attention to the edges. You're going to want a seamless transition between the old wall and the new piece of drywall. So just make sure you sand it down so that you don't see those little lines when you paint your wall. I've now gone over all of the spots that were a little bit too bumpy for my liking with some drywall compound. These are very thin layers of plaster or drywall compound, whatever you want to call it, so they'll dry pretty quickly. I'm just going to put the ceiling fan on, leave it for an hour and a half or 2 hours until everything turns white, and I'm going to come back and sand it, and I should be able to put my primer on today. As you can see, my touch-up drywall compound has dried, so I will be using my fine sandpaper to go over this one last time before I prime it. Even though my paint has a primer built in, because this is raw drywall compound, I want to put a layer of primer on top of it just to make sure that the paint sticks well and it doesn't peel. I've been waiting to do this for so long. Now I'm just going to let this primer dry. It'll take a couple hours and then I'll paint over top of it with the actual paint. Now that the primer is done drying, I'm going to go over it with the wall paint, which includes its own primer. My first coat is done of the actual color on the wall, so I'm going to let this dry. In fact, I'm going to wait for the evening so that I can look at it in a different light and just make sure that I didn't miss any spot. I think for the most part I covered it quite well, so I probably won't need another full layer over top of it.
All is all done. See, I have put a screw in for my picture that I'll be hanging here, and I'm good to go.
Remember, if you're about to start this project, just prepare yourself to be patient. It does take time to complete. Thanks again for watching, and good luck.